Right at Home is a private duty home health agency. Our purpose is to provide a solution to a problem that families can't solve for themselves. One of the biggest challenges that we have is that 90% of the clients come to us in crisis. People have unrealistic expectations about what caregivers can and can't do. Allows us to give family members very accurate data about what's happening in mom or dad's home. So having technology like Be Close is very, very useful, because a system like Be Close can be brought into play that allows us to get data about what's happening in the home and will allow us then to make informed, objective recommendations about level of care. Let's get something in place now that will give us data that will let us know what's going on before there's a crisis. The way Be Close works is it learns standard behavior, and then it shows when that behavior deviates. We can set Be Close up to monitor whether they might be exit seeking and start to wander. So we can set up the alerts with the Be Close system somewhat differently, and therefore learn if there's a fall. And then they go about their daily lives, and we're still getting data about how they're living. It's non-invasive. It allows the client to continue to live the way they want to live, while supplying accurate data to a care manager or to the family members, and let them know when things have changed, and will help us learn when a caregiver is absolutely required. Technology like Be Close can help keep those costs as low as possible, as long as possible. And again, Be Close is a big part of maintaining that safety, because it's giving us data about what's happening, what's really happening in that home. It's never too early to start planning and be aware of what your options are. We need a caregiver during the day. We can't afford to have a caregiver around the clock, but we still need to know what's happening. So we position Be Close as an alternative to having a caregiver in 24/7. It allows them to maintain a sense of independence even longer than they might otherwise have. We are in the business of keeping people living at home as long as possible. And one of the reasons that we like this technology so much is so you've extended out the period of time and helped minimize the cost.
Right.
That it is a relatively inexpensive way of keeping track and tabs on a person without having a body there. After, what we have found is once we put Be Close in, and the resident or the recipient becomes used to it, they forget that it's there, and allows us to track what people are doing and what's happening in their home. Where the caregiver, at a time of day where maybe the hands-on assistance isn't needed as much, by monitoring with Be Close, they can still know what's happening in mom or dad's home, but not have to pay quite as much money for a caregiver. So this technology is not a camera. It's not invasive. It's not. It's designed just to give some data. It's not going to be. And it's not going to embarrass anybody in any way, shape, or form. Especially when if you have a loved one who's living alone and is in perfect health, understanding the options that are available before they need them is going to make life much easier, especially if they themselves can be brought to understand how the implementation of technology is going to allow them to remain in place where they want to be that much longer. What we're trying to do is help families identify solutions that'll help keep their loved one in place over an extended period of time. Without our assistance, their loved one could not have lived at home the way they wanted to live as long as they lived. And that's the most gratifying thing that you can possibly hear, is that you made a difference in someone's life. The biggest thing that happens when we first meet with a family is they don't know what they need. And by having the technology there, you can also know when you need to add the physical presence of a caregiver and still allow them to remain at home.
Right.
We had a gentleman, he had mild cognitive impairment, and he was living on his own. Well, what we knew from the system was that he would get up every morning about 7 o'clock. He would go into the bathroom, get himself ready, and then he would go into the kitchen and make himself breakfast. Well, one morning he did get up, but the sensor showed he never left his bedroom. It sent an alert to his daughter. His daughter called a neighbor. The neighbor went in and found that he was dressed but sitting on the edge of his bed waiting for someone to come get him and take him to breakfast. At that point in time, the daughter decided it was time to move him into assisted living. We moved the system into his assisted living apartment. The system learned that he would get up once or twice a night to go to the restroom. Great. Well, one night it showed that he got up 8 times. Send an alert to the daughter. The daughter then notified the wellness director at the assisted living, who checked on him and found that he had a UTI. So the system did exactly what it was supposed to do. The other thing that the data showed was that despite the fact that this woman claimed to her son that she slept 6 or 7 hours a night, she barely slept more than 45 minutes at any one time before she was up and about, that she was actually living a very frenetic pace. This technology, and then it lets them make intelligent decisions. We can put a system in place that will allow us to get data about what's happening in the home.